Sorry, Dave. I feel like I do it every time. One of these days, as often as I go live or I record a podcast, you would think I would remember to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to try this again. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Optimus Dynasty Hour here on the Optimus Fantasy Football Channel. I am your host, Nate Polvogt. I'm going to be here with you most weeks of the year. Not all 52, but the majority of them. I do have to take a break every once in a while. And I am joined by my co-host tonight, the one and only Mr. Dave Stewart at Dave Fantasy. Dave, I want to thank you for stepping in. My normal co-host, the guy who's usually going to be here with me pretty much every week, John Arrington at Dynasty Coach A. That old ball's turned 40 tonight. So happy birthday, John. Go celebrate your wise older age. Like I told you, man, 40-year-old balls indeed. Just flat out have more fun. And without that, boom, look at this. John tuning in. Hopefully Nate doesn't mute himself while I'm away. Oh, I did it, John, and I always do it, and I always will do it. We have a great show for you guys tonight. We are going to go through some Dynasty sleeper values. It's that time of year. We're trying to get our Dynasty squads ready, right, Dave? It's about that time. Right. The season here, we're 44 days away from the Fantasy Football Expo, which means we're about 60 days away from the NFL season.
Wow, your math is great.
It's something. Well, it's not that great. I'm at the very least hopefully close. Now, this is the time to start getting your rosters ready in Dynasty. Indeed. This is when you need to start shuffling. Maybe there's some guys who are kind of like sticking out in OTAs, some rookies that maybe are getting a little bit more action, a little bit more hype. Go after these guys right now. Get them on your benches. You've still probably got some room on your taxi squads in Dynasty. You can grab some of these rookie guys and stash them. Maybe even some undrafted guys. People I've seen going undrafted. Dylan Laube has been falling out of rookie drafts. He's a guy that I recommend go stash him. He is a fantastic sleeper. Dave, first of all, let's talk about this rookie class. Are there any guys in this rookie class coming in? For me, it's Dylan Laube. I think Xavier Leggett isn't getting enough love. There's a lot of talk about his only one season at Western Kentucky, and it's a smaller school. However, I think he's in a good system in Carolina for him. I think he'll mesh well with Bryce Young. I think he'll be a nice complement to Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, two older receivers. What about you? Are there any guys that you're looking at right now that you're kind of maybe salivating to get on your taxi squad?
You know, when I was thinking about earlier, I guess I wasn't really talking to anybody, but Bub Means from Pittsburgh. Well, he's with the Saints now, but, out of the University of Pittsburgh is what I mean. He is going to be competing with Cedric Wilson for that third receiver spot in New Orleans. And, I mean, obviously I'm wearing my Boise State hat. I love my Cedric Wilson and everything. But I think that Bub Means is going to give him a good run for his money for that position. And you get that guy on the field. He's basically free right now.
Right. And that's the thing about Dynasty. And as far as any sort of strategy in acquiring players, sometimes you grab guys because just in case. Think about James Robinson. The people who picked him up before he was a hot commodity in week 3 of 2020, those were league-winning teams because of what James Robinson did. Nobody else had that secret special stashed asset that no one was looking at. Now, Dave, for the purpose of this show, we've talked rookies so much already, but I want to get into some guys right now whose ADP, is just really generally way too low for what they could possibly be producing this season. So that's why we wanted to get into some of these Dynasty value sleepers tonight on our show. But before we do that, guys, I want to remind you, if you're here, please hit that like button. That's a big thank you to us for putting this content out for you every single week. Also subscribe because, again, we're coming out with new shows every single week. We have the Debbie Devotional every other Tuesday. We're going to be getting our Best Ball show back here in July to kind of, it's starting to heat up and people are jumping into those Best Ball Mania and puppy drafts. We're going to have some redraft stuff here coming up starting in August. We're going to start diving into waiver wire. We're going to start diving into some redraft draft strategies. And most importantly, Monday, we are going to have one more mock draft show with the Scott Fishbowl mock where we will hopefully be giving away one more Scott Fishbowl invite just days ahead of the start of live drafts and the slow draft. So we are very excited about that. So again, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. That'll give you a leg up on the people who might want to win a Scott Fishbowl invite if you're not in already. Dave, I've talked long enough about us. Let's talk about some of these players that we're going after as dynasty sleeper values. The first player I'm excited about, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't think I'd be excited about this guy ever, but I like his landing spot. It's Antonio Gibson, the fourth-year running back now. He is going from the Washington Commanders to the New England Patriots. Right. We all know he's been kind of a disappointment in Washington. We had high hopes coming into the league. He was coming out of Memphis, former wide receiver, converted to running back, had been compared somewhat to Christian McCaffrey. Right. Is that maybe why some of us are so low on him right now, is because there was that Christian McCaffrey comparison coming out of the gate and he just simply didn't live up to it. Is that why we're so low on him right now? Because those expectations were just so sky high?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Everybody thought he was going to be like a sure thing, and he hasn't lived up to that hype. So
right. No, and it's really too bad because we know that the talent's there for Antonio Gibson. Maybe it was a lot situational in Washington. Ron Rivera really passed his prime as a head coach there. We saw it last season. That's why they've moved on from him. Here's what I like. All right, Drake May is going to be your starting quarterback in New England. Bill Belichick's gone. We've got the Jared Mayo Patriots. This team seems to be having a lot more fun. They're going to roll out rookie Drake May. And if you look at the rest of their receiving core, it's all very, 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 very young. You've got Jalen Polk. You've got Javon Baker, two guys they got in the draft that some of us are very high on and think are going to do well in this offense eventually. But then you've got Demario Douglas, Tyquan Thornton, and Kendrick Bourne, who are floating around in that offense. None of these guys have proven to be highly reliable, right? So now you get a guy like Antonio Gibson, who not only can run the ball as a really nice compliment, a change of pace guy to Ramondre Stevenson, who just got that new deal, but he can catch the ball. And for a rookie quarterback to have that guy out of the backfield, I think is a huge advantage. And I think that plays to May's benefit to have him. And I can't understand right now. He's running back 50. All right. So you're saying he's basically in running back 4 at this point. I don't think we see many weeks where he finishes worse than RB3. So out of the gate, you're going to get value. If he's on the field, he's probably an RB3. He could have weeks where he creeps up into RB2 territory for the week. Isn't that a guy you'd like to have the option of playing and have on your flex at an RB50 price right now?
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy, RB50. That seems pretty low on this guy. And yeah, he could certainly has the potential to give you some good weeks. His ability to catch the ball, obviously, you already mentioned that. If you're playing any kind of PPR league, half PPR, full PPR, whatever, that's going to be very. It's going to come in very handy, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and to be fair, for as low as we are on this kid, and he is a kid, he's 26. Okay,
yeah, still pretty young.
He's still young. His first 2 seasons in the league, he was RB12 and RB11.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the threshold was fairly low in those seasons. COVID year, we had a lot of people sitting, a lot of people having to sit out games because of COVID, depleted offenses, but 11 rushing touchdowns and 7 rushing touchdowns. The last 2 seasons, he's seen nearly 60 targets in that Washington offense. So from a PPR standpoint, if you're in a PPR league, Antonio Gibson at RB50 is ridiculous. All right, he should be in the RB30s. He should be RB34, 35, 36, up to 40. So go get him now with this value. What do you think about that, Dave? I mean, I guess my question would be, what are you willing to pay for him right now?
Well, I mean, I'm obviously wanting to get him on the cheap if he's really being valued at RB50, but I don't know. I'm thinking he can easily be had for a 3rd-round pick, right?
Oh, you should be able to get him for a 2025 or 2026 third. I wouldn't think it would be an issue. Now, Dave, the next guy we're going to talk about is someone you brought to the table here, and it's New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. the much maligned quarterback. There's talk that Drew Lock might win that starting job. So, Dave, let's talk about Daniel Jones, QB 31 right now in the Fantasy Pros Expert Consensus Dynasty rankings.
Yeah, well, what I like about Daniel Jones is obviously his running threat. Last year went pretty badly. He was hurt for a good portion of the year. The Giants ended up using Tommy DeVito, and that was a lot of fun. But the last time that Daniel Jones actually played the majority of the season, he had over 700 rushing yards. He was the quarterback 9 in 2022.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he's still got that aspect of his game. He's still going to get you points with his legs. And quarterback 31 is just crazy. I mean, it's basically like every quarterback in the league is over him. And I don't think that should be the case. I think that he's going to come in a lot higher than quarterback 31 by the end of the year, assuming he doesn't lose the job to Drew Lock, which I'm not really buying that. I don't really think that's
yeah. I would be shocked if he lost the job to Drew Lock. And that's not to say that I think Drew Lock is necessarily a bad quarterback. I think the guy deserves a chance to start somewhere eventually. It's probably going to be down the line, another couple of years. He'll find a team desperate enough to let him take the reins. But I don't think it's the Giants. They gave Daniel Jones too much money. That's way too much money. Massive contract, a lot of guaranteed money. He finished in 2022, which was clearly, obviously, by far his best season. He only threw the ball 472 times. He only had 15 passing touchdowns. But then, as you said, you get to the rushing side, 120 attempts for 708 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Right.
If Daniel Jones can do that again, I'm completely with you. If he shows this season that he's the guy that can give you that rushing upside year in and year out, all for it. My only concern, and I guess you can tell me where you sit on this, Dave, are they going to use him that way again?
I hope so. I mean, he is coming off the ACL, and he's supposed to be ready for the start of training camp is the stories that I'm hearing. But coming off the knee injury, they might not ask him to run the ball quite as much. Who knows? But there's going to be situations where plays break down, and the dude is legitimately fast. So if he starts, if he has to leave the pocket, there's no telling what's going to happen. He could take off down the field for chunk plays.
And I have to say that I have a hard time believing that if he starts all season long, that there are 30 quarterbacks in the NFL who will have better stats than him in fantasy.
Yeah, I just
no, I don't think it is either. Even his first 3 seasons, QB 24, QB 24, QB 27, but he played 13, 14, and 11 games. The guy only played 1 complete season. You gave him a complete season, he finished QB 9. If you get him at cost right now and he finishes QB 25, that's still a win.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think he could do a little better than 25. I see him as a realistic, usable QB2 in like super flex formats. So.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. I'm okay with getting him. And at this cost, I think the thing that's most important with a player like Daniel Jones is there's very little risk associated with acquiring him right now. At a QB 31 value, he's barely a QB 3 in a league that doesn't go deep enough to fill out QB 3, right? So there's no way he's going to be the 31st worst quarterback in the NFL this year if he starts.
Yeah, I can't see it.
There's no way. You're putting guys like Sam Darnold ahead of him in dynasty rankings, and I can't. At value right now, I think Daniel Jones is a great acquisition. Want to jump in the chat real quick here for our podcast listeners. Albert Merriquin jumping in here. You are a regular, sir, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. Albert says, hey, everyone. And then the man, the myth, the legend, Jamie Parag says, hey, Optimus fans. What is up, Jamie? We love to see it. And then a quick comment here on Daniel Jones. There's some kind of injury clause in Jones' contract where they have to guarantee him money if he gets injured. Well, I guess we won't be seeing a whole lot of Daniel Jones then coming up this season, but a player we will be seeing plenty of, and someone we talked about on Monday on the mock draft show with Casey Kasem, Brandon Cooks. of the Dallas Cowboys. He is currently wide receiver 50. Dave, I know, I understand that this is the Dallas Cowboys offense, and as there are every season, there's a lot of concerns. I get it.
Well, they might not be able to run the ball at all.
Well, now this is why I think you need to go after Brandon Cooks right now. With the value of wide receiver 50, you're putting him again, wide receiver 4. He's going to be in an offense, like you just said. How are they going to run the ball? Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott, who they let go a season ago because they didn't believe that he was worth holding on to. They rather to go with Tony Pollard and Ronald Jones, who, eventually got suspended and never really played, but they decided that those guys were a better option than Zeke. Now, they got Zeke at a discount. I think they're going to use Zeke quite a bit, but I don't think their running game is going to be efficient enough. They're going to be able to afford to not throw the ball downfield. And who's the best downfield receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb on this team that's not going to be drawing double coverage on every snap?
Yeah, I like it. I think that they're definitely going to be one of the pass heavier offenses in the league this year because of the, running game issues we just talked about. Mm-hmm. So I could definitely see, substantial targets coming Brandon Cooks' way.
Well, in a Dallas offense last season where he played 16 games, but he just never flashed, right? We didn't see that normal, like Brandon Cooks pop where he makes the big plays. But he was still wide receiver 35. He had 8 touchdowns. He had 54 catches. If he finishes wide receiver 35 again, which I think he's fully capable of in this offense, I don't see any reason why he can't. Again, steal of a deal on Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, it's a situation where they've got him below wide receiver 4 is basically.
Right.
50. That's outside. That's outside of where I expect to see him,
Yep. Now, Dave, funny thing, I want to go to the chat here real quick. I don't know if you saw this already. Mr. Scampers, howdy, fellas. Buddy, we were just talking about you earlier. We love to see you. Thanks for coming in here. Now, Dave, we're going to go to our 4th Dynasty Sleeper value, and I love this one coming from you. J.K. Dobbins, new team. Hopefully better knee. He's with the Chargers, and he's running back 59. Why?
Yeah, I'm ready to be hurt again. Bring on the J.K. Dobbins, right? He's essentially the starting running back for the Chargers. Maybe split in time with Gus Edwards, but these guys have split time, in the past before. I definitely think that Dobbins is going to get more of the work between the 20s. And if he could stay healthy, which he's never been able to do, but if he could stay healthy, he's going to provide some tremendous return on that ADP.
Well, and that's the thing. If he can stay healthy.
Yeah, it's a big if. Like I say, he never is healthy. So it's
I think what's encouraging with Dobbins is first of all, if he does stay healthy, he's not going to have a huge season, right? We know guys coming off of this Achilles, they tend to be slow. They don't have the pop or the explosion. They tend to be timid with that ankle. It's harder for them to cut. I don't think he's going to be great this year. However, that said, he's going to be better than RB59. People, come on. Right. He's sitting on a team with Greg Roman, his offensive coordinator the entire time in Baltimore, who loved him and kept trying to get J.K. Dobbins going in a Jim Harbaugh offense that has stripped quarterback Justin Herbert of all his weapons.
Right.
He's got Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey.
There's no wide recievers there.
He has no wide receivers. He has no tight ends. What does he have? Donald Parham still, I think, is who they're rolling with right now. And I think that's not sexy. Right. They lost Gerald Everett. They have nobody. They have nobody. They've got Josh Palmer. That's not even exciting. And I try to get excited about Josh Palmer, but J.K. Dobbins is going to see volume. How efficient he's going to be remains to be seen. We don't know. But guys who are valued outside the top 30 running backs that are lined up to see the amount of volume that J.K. Dobbins could see, I'm gonna bite on that every time. I'm gonna kick the tires on that, because at this point you're talking about sending like a 4th round pick and maybe like some junk bench piece you're trying to get rid of that might provide this manager some value to just maybe get them to like, yeah, I'm not gonna wait around for Dobbins. Let's just let him go. It's worth it for the 4th in this piece. And that's nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he can, people have got to be down on him, obviously, if this is where he's being ranked, this is where he's,
yes,
if he's at RB 59. So,
and we've got Jamie Parag here, Dave, weighing in the chat. And this is a very good point. When Jim Harbaugh was the coach at the University of Michigan, his teams averaged 37 rushing attempts per game.
That's a lot.
And you've got J.K. Dobbins sitting on a depth chart with Gus Edwards, Kamani Vidal, Isaiah Spiller, Elijah Dotson, the ever mediocre Jarrett Patterson, and Ben Mason. So his competition essentially is Gus Edwards, who is listed ahead of him on the depth chart due to Dobbins' injury.
Right.
And we don't know how healthy Gus Edwards can stay. Even if this is a committee, even if this is a split committee between these two, that still means 15 carries a game for these guys a piece.
Yeah,
I'll take that. I will take that kind of volume all day, all 100%. Freaking day. All right, Dave, I want to get to my next player. It's Baker Mayfield, quarterback in Tampa Bay. It's not Tampa Bay anymore. It's Baker Bay, folks. He is currently sitting at QB 23. And I understand.
Feels a little low.
I understand it, though, Dave, and I'll tell you why. Because he hasn't really been great, right?
No.
QB 16, QB 18, QB 18, QB 25 his last season in Cleveland. He was QB 29 when he split time between Carolina and the Los Angeles Rams. Then last year, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, right? QB 10.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level amongst fantasy managers and analysts where maybe we don't necessarily believe that he can replicate what he did last season. Like, there's no way Baker Mayfield can be QB 10. There's just no way. It can't happen. Oh, my brothers and sisters in Dynasty Fantasy Football, let me tell you something. Baker Mayfield has played for, I think now, 7 different offensive coordinators.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. But you know what he gets this year in Tampa Bay? One of his former offensive coordinators is his head coach now. Things are going to be a little bit different. Plus, when was the last time Baker Mayfield, before last season, had Rashad White, a rookie Trey Benson, sitting behind Rashad White? I'm sorry, Bucky Irving, not Trey Benson.
Yeah, Bucky Irving.
And he's got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Arguably the top pair in the league.
One of the top pairings in the league. Pairs, so sure. Baker doesn't have to be amazing. He has to be good. No. And in this offense, good will get him to QB 10, 11, 12, 13 for the next 4 to 5 seasons, maybe 6. Yeah,
he's still got some life left in him for sure.
He's only 29, Dave.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, he's not even hit 30 yet, so.
He hasn't hit 30. Baker Mayfield could be a top 8 quarterback in this offense. And he doesn't even have to be that good. Yeah. You need a couple of guys to get injured. He scoops up the rankings. Justin Herbert's going to fall out of that top 10. He will finish higher than Justin Herbert this year.
Nice. I like
that. And next year. It's the offenses, though, Dave. Plain and simple. Baker Mayfield, right now, I would be willing to give a 2nd-round pick for.
Yeah.
I'd have no issue with the 2nd plus. I might even give up a 2nd and a 3rd for it. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Would you feel comfortable with that though?
It's a little rich, but I mean, what you're saying about, he's got some like long-term potential here. Yeah, I think I would consider doing that. Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I guess it's fair to say that we are in on this show on Baker Mayfield at his current value of QB 23. Before we move on to our last player, guys, I just want to remind you, please, if you're watching this video, like it if you are enjoying the content, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. Not only are we launching our website on Monday, July 1st, we're going to have some cool giveaways on our mock draft show Monday night. You are going to be able to find us on Scott Fishbowl Potathon this weekend, which we are very, very, very excited about. We have the late shift, guys. We will be on from 12:30 to 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For all you Mountain Standard folks, that is 10:30, and anyone on the Pacific, that is 9:30. So that's right in that perfect wheelhouse. We have a full hour, which is kind of unheard of on the Scott Fishbowl Podathon, and we're thrilled to get to know all you guys, talk more about our site, have some fun, give you guys some advice, and then, of course, like I said, we're launching the website on Monday. We're going to be announcing some premium subscription discounts. We're going to be doing some giveaways. We have some FF Expo tickets to give away as well. So we'll be doing some fun stuff all week to celebrate that site launch if I live to get there, because I'm telling you, Dave, this project is freaking killing me.
Oh, I can see.
We all can. I'm very tired, but that's all right, because you know what? I love fantasy football, and I love all of you folks. We're going to get you out of here soon, but we've got one more player I want to talk about, Dave. This is your final player. You brought him to the table. I would like for you to go ahead and introduce him for us.
Yeah, we're talking about Michael Wilson here, Arizona Cardinals wide receiver. Was a rookie last season, and of course, they're bringing in the hot new car. Marv is coming in, but Michael Wilson's still going to be on the field there. They do have Zay Jones as well, which I kind of forgot before I started looking into this morning. I was like, oh yeah, Zay Jones, I remember that. But I think that Wilson's really got some potential here, and when he's being valued as wide receiver 74, I think that's almost ludicrous. You saw at the end of last season, his last two games, he really came on. Had some. They were two of his three best fantasy games of the entire year, and including his highest yardage total in week 17 when he got 95 yards on 6 catches. So I think that I think he's going to be in the mix there. Obviously Marvin Harrison is going to be top target, but I definitely think there's some potential for Mr. Wilson.
Well, okay, Dave, I love Marvin Harrison. I really do. MHJ, I loved his dad. I loved watching his dad play.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced he's going to be their wide receiver, or he's going to be their number one target receiver this year.
Oh, really?
I think it might be. I think it might end up being Trey McBride.
Okay.
I would have felt differently like a month ago, probably. I've had some conversations that lead me to believe there is a chance that is possible. So, I don't know, man.
I suppose I could see that,
but regardless, I think Michael Wilson could be the third receiver in this offense. So
yeah, I think there's a real good chance. Both Harrison and McBride are going to get triple-digit targets. I think that's a pretty foregone conclusion. But if you could see, Michael Wilson getting 70 targets, something in that range, wide receiver 74. I don't see why not. 74, Nate. That's.
Well, he was wide receiver 56 in standard last year.
Right.
So I'd imagine he sat somewhere around there in PPR as well. Wide receiver 74. He could likely be the wide receiver 3 in the Arizona offense. My only concern is we don't know how much they're going to throw it. Kyler's back. Kyler's healthy. James Conner, Trey Benson, who I think people are way too high on right now, but that's just my own personal opinion. I think James Conner's the guy in that offense until the wheels fall off, and I don't see the wheels falling off anytime soon.
No. So he's another one of these guys that feels like he's been around a long time, but he's still pretty young. He's not
Yep.
as old as people are making
I
him
mean,
sound. 29 years old.
realistically, I think he's probably got 2 more fantasy relevant seasons James Conner does.
That sounds fair.
I think he spends them in Arizona. I think he's a nice complement piece in this offense. I think with Kyler Murray, he's a good player to have around. He's a veteran brain. I think he can keep Kyler Murray kind of in check, maybe keep him from playing so much freaking Call of Duty and stay healthy. But not that does that even matter? I don't know that we should really care that much that he plays Call of Duty, Dave. I'm just going to say it. I don't know
it doesn't
why it matters so much.
I just like that it was made such a big deal of in the contract.
Yep. So I just want to real quick before we get everybody out of here, I want to say, first of all, thank you everyone for tuning in. I want to get to a couple things in the chat here. Mr. Jamie Prog saying, I bought Baker recently for the 111 in Superflex. Ooh. That's a lot, man. But in Superflex, that things are a little bit different. And again, we're talking about these players being sleepers to us. And by Dynasty ranking standards, but your league's going to be different. Every league is different. So when we're talking, you might think we're idiots saying some of these guys are sleepers, but they are most of the places. So, and then also from Jamie, he wants to know Baker or Bo Nix. It's not even close for me. I'm taking Baker Mayfield right now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We know that Bo Nix is going to be something. And that's what we know. And as a Broncos fan and Colorado native, it hurts me to say I don't know that he's the solution that we are looking for here in Denver.
All right.
But I mean, we will find out. So one more time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate the support. Other ways you can support us is please make sure you are following us on Twitter at Optimus Fantasy. Find us on Facebook, Optimus Fantasy Football. We are on TikTok. We are on Instagram. We're on Kick. We're on Twitch. Find us all these different places. Our website is launching Monday, July 1st. With that, we will be announcing a fun Discord channel where you can interact with our analysts. That's going to be a blast. All of this is going to be a good time, ramping up and getting ready for the NFL season. Please make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel because we love to see your pretty faces tuning in, commenting, saying hello. It gives us great pride and joy to have you here. And with that, folks, I'm Nate Polvogt. That guy over there is Dave Stewart. This is Optimus Fantasy. Thank you for tuning in. No show next week, guys. 4th of July. We'll see you on the 11th. Have a great holiday.